Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce CIMATICS video session 62. So in today's video, we will learn one concept, okay? And this concept, I was using in a lot of functions, especially it's related to date, which is called as epoch. Fine. So let me first open my Notepad++, okay? And you must have seen, I have used this epoch, right? When I was teaching you a lot of expressions, okay? When I was creating a lot of derived fields and when I was, calculating the difference, I was using the term epoch a lot. And I told you that when I was using that term, that for now you just use it as a format. But maybe I will just have one session where I will explain you a little bit more in details about it. Okay, maybe I could have done it earlier, but anyways, it's better late than never. So first of all, let me teach you in a very simple language what is the meaning of epoch. Okay. So basically, the epoch, right? Epoch is nothing but a date and time, okay, from which a computer measures system time. Okay. In a very simple term, that's the meaning of epoch, and that's it what you have to know. Okay. So epoch is date and time from which a computer measures systems time. What is the system time? Okay. Usually, as a reference, that particular date, right, that is taken as 1st January 1917. Okay, so that's the whole meaning of epoch. It's been considered that this computer system or system time, everything started from somewhere around 1970, but that's the whole meaning of it. Okay, now let's understand how we use it and what basically is the impact when we use this. You must have seen I have used something like close underscore date, sorry, close underscore seg underscore epoch minus, okay, created date underscore sec underscore epoch. Okay. Now, what this actually happens? Fine. One now, let's say instead of 1st January, this is just for explanation purpose. I am actually teaching you because 1970 is too far and it will make it a little bit complicated. Let's consider you have the created date as 20. Today is 27 October. Let's say my created date. Okay. Let's say my created date is is equal to this one, 27th October, right? 27th October 2024. Okay. And let's say my close date. Okay. Let's say my close date will be 28th October 2024. This is just an example. Fine. Just for now, see the reference is definitely 1st January 1970. But just from explanation point of view, let's assume, okay, reference when we measured that epoch, let's assume as uh what to say, let's assume it as, let's say, 20 October. Okay, so let's assume it as 20th October. Okay, now try to understand how the Einstein analytics engine actually computes the difference between these two, or how in general the epoch seconds difference is taken into consideration. Now you all know that 1 hour, okay, 1 hour is equal to how much? 3600 seconds. Okay, now what happens in one day? Okay, in one day, how many hours you have? You have 24 hours, right? In one day, you have 24 hours, which is equal to how much? So if 1 hour is equal to 60 seconds and sorry, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes and 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, then 1 hour has 3600 seconds, right? Now, the thing is that if one day is having 24 hours, then how many seconds it will be? It will be 3600 into 24, right? So let me open my calculator. Yeah. And let's do it over here. It is 3600 into 24, which is giving you 86400 seconds. Okay. Now try to understand this. 27 minus, so for example, now if I write 27 October minus this one, okay, let's consider this one. So what will be that time period? By taking the reference as 20th October, how much seconds has elapsed? Fine. So when I write this particular thing, right, that is, let's say, created date underscore sec underscore epoch, this is exactly what the system calculates. Okay. So basically it's taking the reference as 20 October. So from 27 to 20, okay, how many days have passed? So you all know it's 7 days, right? Isn't it very simple? 7 days. So 7 days means how many seconds? Okay, so one day is having 86400 seconds. Okay, so let me open my calculator once again. So 86400 into 7, because one day is having 86400 seconds. So 7 day will have 86400 into 7, right? Into 7. So this is nothing but 604 604 800 604 800 604 800 seconds, isn't it? Okay, now let's come back to this one, which is close. I mean, this will be, sorry, this will be closed date, right? Okay, so close date underscore sec underscore epoch. Fine. Now, how this calculation will be done? So again, the reference being this one, 20th October. So I will write 28th October. Okay, 28th October minus 20 October. Okay, so that means it will give you how many days? It is giving you 8 days, right? So 8 days is how much? How many seconds it will be? It will be 86400 into 8, right? So if I open my calculator, I mean 604 800, let me just add 8640. It's mean the same thing, right? If I add 86400, okay, it is giving me 691200. Okay, 691200 seconds. Okay, now how exactly this is happening then? So basically this difference, right? That is close date underscore sec underscore epoch. Okay, how I'm calculating is in this manner. This will be equal to nothing but this many seconds. Okay, this many seconds, fine, minus this many seconds. Okay, will give you actually how much? So if I just calculate over here, okay, it will be 691,200, okay, minus 604,800. Okay, it is giving you 86400 seconds, isn't it? Okay, so that's how it's calculated. That is how you find the difference between two dates. You got my point? And again, when we are doing this 2 date and all, we are first converting to seconds. So why we convert into seconds? Through seconds, it becomes easier to do the calculation. So let's see, if I have to find the difference between two dates, how will the Einstein analytics engine do that? How will the CM analytics engine do that? So that's when, at least in data flow, that's where, this concept is introduced. Right now in recipe, you won't have to do this because already it's done in the backend. That's why it becomes relatively easier, where you can just give the date and you can subtract, okay, close date minus create date, and give you, which I will show you once we come to the recipe part. But in data flow part, the epoch plays a very important role. Okay, so that's why whenever you are calculating the date difference, whenever you are doing any calculation related to dates, the epoch plays a very important role. Okay, now the assumption here has been that the reference has been taken as 20 October, and that's how I explained you. However, in actual case, the reference is taken as 1st January 1970. That's the meaning of epoch. That's the reference date when it's taken into calculation. That's where we are assuming that the computer system has started generating the time from that particular time. Okay, but at the end of the day, our reference date doesn't matter. You might say, what if some dates are, I mean, some datas are below that? Usually the datas are not, behind 1970. At least in my practical experience, I've seen that. And however, if it is, that doesn't really matter. Ultimately, if we are concerned with the difference, the whole part actually does that. Okay. So that's the whole meaning of it. Fine. And even if you take 1970 to consideration, at the end of the day, I just assume 20 October just to make the calculation easier, just to make you the just to help you to able to understand the concept behind it. But if you take 90/70, the whole calculation will be in that process. At the end of the day, difference will still comes the same. You got my point? Okay. So that's the whole thing about epoch. Okay. Now coming back to my data flow. Now you must have seen there were a lot of times when I've used that particular sec underscore, I mean created underscore sec underscore epoch. So let's first go through each one of them and try to understand what was the reason behind it. Okay. So this is not a big deal. Records is fine. created date excluding time. That's also, see, for example, here you see I've converted this into date. Okay, so what I've done, I have first calculated this created date underscore sec underscore epoch, which means how much seconds is there that I'm calculating, and to date actually just converts that into date. Okay, so for example, I mean here the to date won't consider into picture, but let's say this created date underscore sec underscore epoch, whatever seconds you get, right? So automatically that will be converted into seconds. For example, when we were doing the calculation, okay, for this created date, right? If you see, for this created date, it's coming as 6044 seconds. Now, if I have to convert into date from here, okay, so what is that actual date? Okay, so let's say if I give something like to date, okay, and here my assumption is that the reference point will be taken as 20th October, right? So from 20th October, okay, if you just calculate this many seconds, to date, what happens after calculating that many seconds, it will give you that exact date when it will fall into. So that exact date will actually come as 27th October. Okay, so 604800 seconds means it's logically, if you see, okay, how many hours or how many days has elapsed? It's elapsed as 7 days. Okay, so from that particular point of time, I mean, sorry, from this particular point, because that's what the assumption was mine, if you take the 7 days, it will be 27 October. That's the something which the to date function automatically does it for you. So once you created that into sec epoch, to date automatically applies that logic that from 1970 it will just take into those many seconds, and after that it will see at which date it is falling, because one day is having 24 hours, or this many seconds. From there on, it will do the further calculation and automatically convert to that specific date. Okay, so that's something one doesn't need to worry about. Okay, so that was something I was doing over here, created it excluding time. Okay, uh, then if you see the difference, like I was doing the day. Now what does day does? Day basically whatever calculation I showed you in terms of seconds, right? Day will actually do the same calculation in terms of day. Okay, so that was a thing. Then here what I was doing, I was converting to seconds. I was actually converting that into date. Okay, after converting into seconds, because what happens, to date automatically that won't take part into date. Okay, first it has to convert into seconds. So to date function automatically takes into it. Once that functions is converted from whichever number it is applying, that number has to be a measure, and that has to be in seconds. Okay, so that's where I just calculated this date. If date will actually calculate the difference, but the first point is that in terms of date it will do it, but first it has to check how much date it is coming. Okay, then we had something like days between, where I'm also doing the same thing. The days between will calculate the difference, like this date minus this date. But how it is doing, first it is converting into that sec epoch where it's taking into consideration the date part, then it is actually subtracting from this seconds, and then finally with the to date, because at the end of the days between automatically gives you the difference. But the thing is that automatically if I write created date minus closed date, that doesn't work out. So that's why automatically I have to take convert it into seconds, then convert into to date, because that's how the Einstein is understands about it, at least on the data flow side. Okay, so yeah, that's what I have been doing, and I don't think so there is further thing. So this is a different thing. Okay, for example, here, like here I'm first converting to seconds, and as I showed you, after converting to seconds, that many time which has elapsed for that particular time zone, I'm just multiplying by 3600. Okay, so that's the whole thing about this date part. Fine. Yeah, then this to date, this close date, I'm checking the date part, like after checking how many seconds have passed and going to, then I'm checking with the now is nothing but your today's date. That's fine. But how I'm doing the difference, I am actually checking like that particular date, I'm first converting into that many seconds, then through to date I'm converting to that date, and then checking if it is less than now or not. Okay, so that's the thing about this. Now there's a very beautiful article. For example, if you search epoch in Einstein analytics, okay, so there's a very beautiful article written over here, mastering dates on Einstein analytics using epoch. That this has been written by Pedro. Okay, so just open this link, and here actually whatever I explained you, right, I have actually taken the reference of this. So they have actually explained this epoch part in a detailed manner, and definitely you can just go through this a lot. But yeah, in short, I have explained whatever I could have understand. I would have explained in a very short manner, but if you want to refer into details, you can always make sure to go through this article, a very beautiful article, and you will love it for sure. Okay, so yeah, that's it about this video. uh, Please definitely do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you all.